everything else in this bed can go. And if you need more string to tie stuff up better, I'm going to go through and look at all the tomato plants, so you don't need to worry about those. But anything else and you could just make a pile of your weeds and we'll collect them all up at the end. That we tried to do for you with more and less success is you don't have to like it when you're a kid. We just wanted to expose you to as much as possible. Right, so when you were adults you actually knew it was an option. It did still, I was like comparing myself to you guys. So like, it's definitely taken me longer to do this. So, even if some of them weren't transformative, you cannot trust those specific. Validated her own arguments. Yeah. Was she even brought up with like what So this morning's project was working on the cucumber bed with some additional help from Crow in the pea bed. Mostly it was getting the weeds out, but I also have had these volunteer tomato plants, which they did get munched on a little bit, but not to the extent that some of my bed tomatoes got. And I hadn't trellised them, so they were just kind of taking over everywhere. So what I did was I went through and I cut off any branches that didn't have tomatoes actively growing on them. Any volunteers that didn't have tomatoes on them at all, I pulled those just straight out of the ground. And so that, and then I've sort of haphazardly staked what's left. We'll see if anything comes out of it. It looks like they're mostly cherry varieties. These ones are a little bigger than cherry, but they're growing in clusters the way cherries do, so I'm not sure what those are going to be.
Found more peas.
Crow's finding peas. So we're actually going to get a pea harvest this year. Yay! Just pods, but that's my favorite kind of pea anyway. So, so I've got one more tomato plant to clean up, but I have more cucumbers living than I expected, so that's good. We actually picked one nice big juicy cucumber off of it, off one of them, so that's great. I'll tuck the ones that I started in amongst these, so as these die off, I'll have new ones coming in. A lot of these are very fragile. Some of them, the branches just broke off as I was weeding around them. So the dill is absolutely bananas in here. Not leaves mostly, just flowers, which kind of sucks because I'm not a big dill pickle person, so I don't have a lot of use for those, but it is what it is, and we'll keep growing them.
Hey Mom, guess what?
What?
I like dill pickles.
All right.
Yay!
Crow likes dill pickles, so I guess I'm making at least one batch of dill pickles.
Yay!
And you can see these kind of feathery leaved plants growing up the middle here. Those are some of the bajillion parsnip seeds that I put in there. So it looks like we're going to have a fairly decent parsnip crop as well. And the nasturtiums are finally starting to flower. So I'm pleased with this, especially now that I have the time and the energy to start giving these beds the care that they need. So I'm going to clean up that last tomato plant, and then we are planning in about 20 minutes to head to the fair for the first day.
Well, hello, a different person this time, but for those who are unaware who I am Stephanie's youngest, and while she and my fiance decide to take a nap, I have too much energy, so I'm picking all these blackberries, or at least as many as I can. I'm gonna say don't tell my mom I'm wearing improper equipment, but she'll see this anyway. Snail. Started to pick up, so I'm going to bring in the little bit of blackberries I got inside. Oh god. Woo!
Oh, there's a dial on the handset by your left pointer finger where ZL would be. And you turn that and it'll turn the camera up and down. You're looking confused.
angles with that.
You know what's scary but fun?
What?
Go up and look at the roof. Or just go up as high as it'll go. Woo! I know, right? What's that? What's here on the land. And one of the things that I found are these choke cherries. I was going to cut these down because we're right off the end of the porch and they block the view down to the creek, but I never got around to it. And I'm glad I didn't, because when these started fruiting, I suddenly realized, hey, this is something. So I did some research, and sure enough, choke cherries are edible. They're very sour. So if you're going to do anything with them, you have to do it with a lot of sugar. And the fruits, they're kind of like pomegranates. They've got that nice, juicy outside, but there's a pit. Whoop. Hello, over here. On the inside, a pretty substantial little pit there. Focus. It's not going to focus. Oh, well. So to use them, you've got to take the pits out. They taste good. There's a sweetness to it, but it's also a very dry wine, which dries out your lips. Which I'm sure is where the choke cherry part comes from. But there's lots of recipes for making them into jam or syrup. It can be used medicinally for digestive issues. So I'm still in a mode of, what does the land have to offer me on its own beyond what I do to it? Because we want to kind of live in sync with the land that's here. So, I mean, theoretically, you're not supposed to overpick any of these resources that you find when you're foraging. I'm not too worried about picking heavily off of this tree because there's a million more berries that I'm missing. Surprisingly, I would have expected the birds to have cleared this off by now, but they really haven't messed with it much at all, which is fine. It can't be aggressive because it is a native species, or it can't be invasive because it is a native species, but it can be aggressive. So it does tend to grow in places you don't necessarily want it to. So like, I would be happy if this was further down the embankment here. Having it right here, again, like I said, it's right next to the house, and blocks the view down to the creek. But I will probably cut some of it back just to kind of get some control over it, control the height a bit, things like that. There's a lot of suckers coming off of it, so we'll cut some of those back. That'll give the others a little more strength and a little more room to grow. And I'll come in here with the weed whacker and get some of these weeds down. I don't work too much on the edge here, but edges are a good thing, because things like this happen in the edge. So I'm going to finish picking these. I think you already saw the video. Crow was out picking blackberries, and they got a pint of blackberries. So I added that to the pint that I had. So we're getting to a point where I could start thinking about making jam out of it. I'd rather have 2 quarts to work from at least. So, but we still have a million blackberries that haven't even ripened yet. And again, there's a whole section of those berries that we can't access because they're so overgrown. So those are the berries for the birds, and we'll take the stuff that's easy for us to get, and we'll have wonderful resources as the summer fades and fall passes and we get into winter where everything is gray and blah. We'll have a little bit of bright red to remind us that summer will come again.
Ladies and gentlemen, West Lawrence Fire Department.
Ken, wave. Crow, wave. Carousel ride before we go home for the night. It was quite a day here at the fair. We've been eating our way through the fair, and the kids have been doing rides, and I've been looking at the exhibits, and we watched the parade, the firemen's parade, and the fireworks, and it's just been a really nice day. County fairs here are very different than what we're used to in Pennsylvania. There they go, bye-bye. The fairs in Pennsylvania are much more 4-H oriented, and while they're still agricultural, it's much more pet oriented rather than food oriented, and that's completely different here. These people know where their food is coming from, and they're teaching their kids where their food is coming from. I have ridiculous children. But it's been a good day. The kids go home tomorrow, and I'm going to be really sad to see them go. I'm going to be very sad to see them go. But we've had a really good visit, and they're very excited. They're going home inspired in ways they haven't felt for quite a while, and they're even talking about moving up here in a year or so. So that'll be a whole different adventure. I think I'm going to wrap this up here. I know this probably, unless I miss my guess, has been a very long video, consolidating their whole visit into one trip, or into one video, but we'll get back on our grind, and I've got a whole bunch of canning coming up, so I hope you'll come back and see what we get up to next. Take care, everybody.